Monique, welcome to Disabled and Proud. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm actually doing pretty good today. Yeah, not too much of a busy day.
Oh, that's always the way that you want it to be, isn't it? Like not too busy, but busy enough. So first question that I ask every single guest on the podcast is, how do you refer to your disability?
Yeah, so I have, it's a bit of a mouthful, osteogenesis imperfecta type 3, which is also known as brittle bone disease, but it's not a disease, which means that I break my bones really easily. I've broken them quite a few times. I'm 3'5" on a good day, and I'm a full-time wheelchair user.
I love that you were like, 3'5" on a good day. Like that extra, like those inches count. And you were obviously born with your disability as well. And I know that a lot of people who are born with brittle bone disease, it's not necessarily like always known until, like myself, it wasn't known that you were going to be born disabled until you were like actually born. Was that the same with you?
Yeah, so they diagnosed me like a few days old, which in some ways I'm kind of lucky because I know people that weren't diagnosed for a while. But yeah, apparently it came to light because I was a very quiet baby. People would not believe that right now. And the only time apparently that I cried was when they changed my nappy. And back in the day, they used to lift your legs to change your nappy, where my legs were broken. So every time they changed my nappy, I cried, and they found it really weird. Yeah, that was the only time. So they found out my legs were healing, but because they then did that, they broke them again, and that's how it came about. That
Oh my goodness. And like obviously I have never, touch wood, oh my god, touch all the wood in the world, I've never broken a bone. But like as a baby, especially because you don't have words, like you have sound, and that's maybe it. Like that must have been like and obviously I don't think you really remember either. I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it must have just like been so painful. There's like a little baby having your legs like flung in the air and being like, please stop.
Yeah, most definitely. I can imagine how I would have reacted, and it would be extra dramatic. So yeah.
And with that, what was it like for you growing up at school? Because obviously, because you didn't acquire your disability, you were born with your disability. What was that like for you as you were growing up and like through the transitioning years?
Yeah, so when I was very young, like I started school, so as I remember, or my mum told me, when I was 2. So I went to what they now call an SEN school, or SEND, Special Educational Needs School. So that wasn't because of my development education-wise. That was because of the care that I needed for when I broke. It wasn't if I broke, it was when I broke. Because as you can imagine, as a little kid, trying to run around, are you crawling and getting into all kinds of trouble. So yeah, it had the care there, and I was there from 2 till about 9 years old. So between those years, like, it was weird. I didn't realize I was very different. Everybody in my school was different. So do you know what I mean? It was like, it was no biggie. And then it wasn't until I went to mainstream, which was 9-ish, 10-ish, and I was at a primary school for like a year and a half. Firstly, I realized I had to catch up on a lot of work. Because I've been, well, not then as a kid, but obviously as an adult now. And my mum had realized that even though I had a physical disability only, they taught everybody the same way. So I had to catch up quite a bit. But that was the sort of first time I realized I was a little bit different and couldn't do things because unlike being at an SEN school, everything was sort of adapted for you, i.e. games, playing out. And in a mainstream school, it's not. If a kid wants to play tag and run really, really fast to get away from you, they will. They won't slow down on purpose so you can catch them, So it's things like that. And then I went to high school, and that's when I really knew that, I'm different, and I also can't do things the same way as everybody else. So in primary school, it's like, oh, I can't do that. But in high school, it's like, I just can't do it the same way as you can. So yeah, it was like a big revelation at one point, and then it was like, I can just do it my own way. So yeah.
It's a lot about adaptation as well, because I think people, especially with younger children and like kids who are disabled, it's almost like adults, and I always think back to my school. It's like teachers were afraid of the adaptations because they didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't either. Like I had no idea whether something was going to work out or not, but I knew that I had to give it a go.
Yeah.
And it's almost allowing for that space for a disabled child to have a go at adapting, and like, if you need to step in and intervene, we will let you know, but don't do it until we shout.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Especially for high school, for me, it was so difficult because like my mum said, I was quite an independent child. So I mean, I was doing silly things I shouldn't be doing, like climbing on cupboard sides and all kinds of things, and all, like literally I must have given my mum a heart attack daily. And so then when I'm going to school, and like literally there was a situation where now this is going to show my age, but when we were in school, they used to have like these wooden ladder things up the walls.
Yeah.
Like people climb. So yeah, like a teacher would turn around and I'd be halfway up a wooden ladder thing because I wanted to give it a go, and they'd freak out, or I'd be like on the crash mats doing like roly polies and stuff, and they'd freak. So yeah, it was weird to see people freaking out so often, whereas my mum was like, come on now, stop. Kind of thing. Or it would be either that or boom, I've broken something and it's all too late. So yeah, it was mad to see. And that's when like the handcuffs sort of came out. It felt like it, where you're like, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't do that on your own. I was like, oh my word. Yeah.
It is, and it is so mad because obviously, like, being a wheelchair user, and I know you'll know this. I obviously don't. That's not my experience, but I know that health and safety can play like such a big role in what people believe you can and can't do, because you're in your chair and people are suddenly like, oh my god, like wheelchair health and safety, oh my god, what am I going to do if this happens, and they're going to blame me because you're a wheelchair user, blah 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 blah. So that must have been like another element on top of it as well.
Yeah, that was a little bit crazy because I didn't know what health and safety was. No, I did. I just wound everybody up and I did everything dangerously. So I just made it worse for everybody at school, to be fair. But yeah, and because I was always, a lot of the kids like in my school, if they were in wheelchairs, they also had a manual wheelchair.
Yeah.
Whereas I always had electric wheelchairs. So yeah, I'd always be like speeding really fast down the corridors. But I was always sensible, as in if there's a crowd, I'd go at like speed 3, and the guys in electric wheelchairs know what I mean. And then if there's not, everybody's in class and you've just popped to the loo or whatever, and there's nobody there, you bomb it down the longest corridor at full speed, and then try and like break or pull a wheelie at the end, and you sort of forget that there's probably a teacher walking behind you and shouting at you. But things like that. But yeah, health and safety, wheelchair wise, no, didn't know what that was. And I constantly crash. I do it now as an adult. I crash into doors with my wheelchair. Yeah, and that used to just scare everybody. So no, I don't know what that is. I don't know what health and safety is with wheelchairs.
I love that so much. And during all of this, how did your disability and being a wheelchair user, how did that impact your career and your career choices?
Wow. So I always wanted to do some sort of arts. I was quite arty, dancing, making things. I can't draw to save my life, so just move that one out of the way.
I studied history of art and I can barely draw a stick man. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's the same with me. But yes, anything arty, like I not to be a big head, but it was the highest marks I got in school anyway. Yeah. So I was quite good at it, and I enjoyed it. And I remember I got to that point in like year 11 when you speak to a careers advisor, and they're like, "Yeah, the arts isn't really a career. So maybe what else do you like doing?" And I've literally set myself on just doing something in the arts.
Yeah.
And again, it's because of my disability, and I remember like everybody else around me saying you need to do something academic because you are really going to struggle doing anything else. So yeah, it was the perception of I couldn't do a career in the arts. So yeah, I literally followed that and went down the path of travel in tourism and tourism management, because I told the careers advisor I like to travel, I like to go on holiday.
Who
Yeah, that was
doesn't?
a big mistake. Exactly right. But yeah, that was a big mistake because it was completely different from what they told me and what I imagined also. So yeah, it was very businessy and very knowing the environment and all kinds of stuff that I had. Yeah, I've just not got that kind of brain. You know, I had to
Yeah.
do law at one point with university. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So it was a lot.
And it's so interesting because obviously, like, what you do now in terms of activism is so far removed from that. And you've worked with some like incredible companies and some brilliant campaigns. And how did you get involved in that?
I don't know. I think I just was very reluctant all the way through like college and university. And even though I was told there was no work in the arts for somebody like me,
Yeah.
I would still do like go to little workshops and stuff and do, you know, like summer schemes and things like that. So
Yeah.
I've always still dabbled in the arts throughout. And then I think that the sort of biggest turning points, because there were a few. I worked at a school, an SEN school, and the first point is dance wise. So I got caught dancing on reception. I worked in reception. I wasn't just a stranger that walked in the school and started dancing at reception. But you know, I worked on reception at this school, and there was this lady that used to come in and teach the kids in the main hall wheelchair dance. And yeah, I got caught dancing at reception, and I was like, oh hi. And she was like, yeah, you should come to dance classes. So that's how the dance side of it sort of happened.
Yeah.
I started going after a while. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, that was sort of the dance bit. The dance bit then links into like the modeling bit, because it
Yeah.
was my dance teacher. My dance teacher just like sent my information off. I always say like I was literally minding my own business on holiday. So I get an email at like 3 a.m. or something saying, can you send more pictures to this place? I've sent your stuff, your information off. And I was like, what is this? So yeah, and that's how I got into the modeling. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. It's very, very different from from travel and tourism.
Yeah, so like it's so different. And I think
Yeah.
what's so brilliant about it is that even though you were told like you wouldn't be able to necessarily be involved in the arts, you knew that that's what you wanted to do, and you knew that like no amount of people putting shit on your fire, like excuse the language, but no amount of people doing that was going to stop you doing what you wanted to do and what you wanted to get out of it. And I think for a lot of disabled people, like we are constantly told no, or doors are closed in our face. But if you know that you want to do something, you should absolutely go after it, because you never know where it's going to lead.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like because I was sort of shut down so many times, it did get to the point where, you know, I was like, okay, maybe I can't. And that's why I did with travel and tourism management. But there was always something that I was like, at least I can do it as a hobby, maybe,
Yeah.
you know? So like I was disheartened, but not completely. But now I'm like to people, don't listen to what people say, do what you want to do, and, you know. But yeah.
Like go after what you want to do, because it is true, as like especially disabled women, because there is a
Yeah.
difference between how disabled men and disabled women are treated. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, how dare you say that, but there is, because I look at my guy friends who are disabled and I look at me, the amount of hate that I get compared to the amount of hate that they get is like it's shocking, like it's palpable. I even had a friend text me the other day being like, yeah, I always thought you were over exaggerating like what people said to you, but you're not. And I was like, no, I know I'm not. Like, and like to go after what you want as a disabled woman is it's such a revolutionary act, and it's almost just like a massive fu to society, to prove that not that you should have to prove a point to anyone, but the point is that you can do it.
Oh yeah. It definitely got to a point where I was like, watch me, just watch me. I can do it, and I will do it. You
Yeah.
know, and I mean, there was a point in my life as well where I was mentoring kids with disabilities, and I think that sort of pushed me in my own mind to be like, look, you really like doing this thing. Maybe try and go after it a little bit more than just a hobby, or work harder at it, so you may be able to get further. So yeah, just people that do that and just like assume that you shouldn't because of how you are really bugs me. Just really frustrates me, and they never get to know you. Like, especially like I find as a disabled woman, especially, you know, people just don't try to get to know you. They just automatically think, oh yeah, that's how you are, and this is how you act, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, it's not at all. And then they're shocked when I open my mouth and I'm like, as some people call it, sassy, or you know, say whatever, and I don't know. Or even when I'm laughing a lot, I find it so baffling because I do giggle a lot. But people are like really shocked that I'm happy because I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You're in a wheelchair and you're disabled. How are you so happy? I was like, because it's been a good day. Like, why are you so happy? You know, like, it's not rocket science. You know, like, wow.
I love that. Like, why are you happy? Because it's been a good day. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
And it is true, because I think, you know, that there's a level of ignorance with a lot of people, and it's not necessarily ignorance for being ignorant. It's ignorance because they don't have the education, and there is a massive difference between ignorance for ignorance sake and ignorance because you're not educated. And like, it's when you're ignorant for the sake of being ignorant, that's when it's a problem. When it's a lack of education, that's when we need to look systemically at the system.
Yeah, definitely. And you can tell straight away, can't you?
Yeah. It's like, it is palpable, isn't it, when you meet someone and you're like, oh, like you're no,
yeah, you're that one.
you're in that group, and my group and your group aren't really friends.
No.
And so talk to me about some of the big campaigns that you've been involved in, because I think like you've been involved in campaigns with Dove, you've been involved in campaigns with I Weigh, and like I think, and that's not the artist I Weigh before someone like gets that really confused. That's like I Weigh as in like the letter I, and then weigh as in like pounds and kilos.
Yeah. Oh wow. So I will be very honest, I'm not very good at like promoting myself. So but yeah, I have. Yeah, I've worked with Dove. A lot of it is body positivity. And I mean, I feel like that was sort of an accident in how I got into that as well. But yeah, I just find, I mean, in the media, I just don't see anybody like me. And again, working with kids, you know, with disabilities, and asking them questions like, who would you love to be? Who would you like to be like? And blah, blah, blah. And it's great that they want to be like all these big celebrities and stuff like that. And I'm like, it would be nice though if you maybe wanted to be, you know, a bit like somebody that had a disability, and you didn't feel like, because a lot of the kids I would ask that question, they'd be like, I want to be like that, but I know I never will be. And I'm like, well, why not? And they were like, well, because, you know, and I know what they're saying, unlike their friends at school where they're like, oh, I want to be blah, 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 blah. And they never have that, you know, ending of, but I will never be that because. And it was just so sad. And I was like, no, something needs to change. So yeah, I'm just trying to be one of many that's making the changes, but I'm very, very lucky. Thank you to my agency that I've worked with. Yeah, the likes of Dove, I Weigh, the Real Catwalk, which is amazing. Facebook. I've done some adverts on TV, which was nice because, you know, everybody, well, most people watch adverts. So I always try and imagine like the kids, even though now they're grown adults, that I was mentoring, watching and thinking, wow, that's amazing. And, you know, I always just say to people, it doesn't matter if you don't need to want to be a model or an actor or anything like that. Even if you literally just wanted to, I don't know, take up crochet or knitting or something really, really small, and everybody's told you, well, you can't because you're disabled. Like, seeing something like that on TV or something could easily spur someone to be like, yeah, I want to do it. I'm going to give it a go. And that's all I want to do.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that this like actually this topic of conversation, because I had a very, very similar conversation with Ashley Eakin, who's been on the podcast, and she's a director. I don't know if you know her work, but her whole like her whole MO is putting disability at the forefront of the big screen in like America and in Hollywood. And it's so interesting because what she also said was so true. She said, you know, we need to be able to see disabled bodies on the big screen because there's such a lack of representation. And actually, I called the episode, I think it was visual representation for the physical manifestation. Because if you haven't necessarily seen someone like you doing what you want to do or like in the same realm, it can be so incredibly difficult for you to believe that you can do it. And don't get me wrong, like I will back myself up 100%. Like I'm the first person that will back myself. However, if I haven't seen someone who looks like me do something I want to do, it can be quite tricky. Don't get me wrong, I can see myself doing it, but I don't know how it looks because I've never seen it before. And that's why we need representation. And that's why I'm so glad that you came on the podcast to talk about this, because you have been that beacon for so many people.
Oh, thank you.
That's all right. I'm here. I'm full of compliments today. I'm feeling really nice. The sun's out. Like, get me on a rainy day and I'm a bitch.
Glad they came today.
And what's so interesting is that throughout this conversation, like I always ask guests, have they found that they've got a positive attribute within themselves when they've been through hardship? And what I've loved is that you've said that, you know, there have been times that have been tough, but actually like you've always pushed for more. And so I wonder, like, do you know what your positive attributes are through times of hardship?
I said a while ago, like about, well, it must be like 5-6 years ago now, that I had a yes year. So yeah, so I really, well, not that I really realized, my friends would tell me that I would say no to a lot of opportunities. Because I just didn't think I was qualified to do it, you know. And yeah, I just had this one year where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to say yes to everything in reason. And yeah, and I literally from from then, I think, yeah, I think everything sort of changed for me in the way of, because I mean, to this day, I still like, you know, I'll doubt myself. I'll get like a job through or something. I'm like, no, I'm sure somebody else could do a better job. And it's weird to say it, but like that is just genuinely how I think. But then I'm like, you know what? If they've not found that person and they've asked me to do it, who else is going to do it if I say no? So yeah, it's sort of constantly pushing myself just to make sure that somebody else who may do a better job or probably could do a better job does it next time.
I honestly love the fact that you had a yes year. And I think so many people would be able to do so much goodness with their life if they applied that just to 1 year. Like we're already like, this episode's not going to go out until later on in this year. So like we're in July right now. I'm not sure when this episode's going out. But like the year is going so quickly. And if you even just said yes to like every opportunity, like you said, within reason, in the next like 6 months, like how far ahead would you be of your own personal game? I'm not talking like, you know, relationships, anything like that, but like of the stuff that you wanted to do in terms of your life. If you just said yes to every single opportunity that came your way in the next 6 months, how I love that so much that you did that. I'm going to take that away and I'm going to do that for the next 6 months. That should be your thing. The yes year, Monique. Yes year. Oh, I love it. So good.
Well, it really did change. It really did change everything. I think within that year, I got my first, like, as they say, proper job, and that was like working at the school and stuff. Yeah. And then from that, I was, I also am one of 5 directors, of a company called Triple C, which stands for Creative Confidence Collective. So we help people with disabilities, all ages, but we also have another strand called DANC, which is Disabled Artists Network and Community. And with that, we work with the TV industry and film, and we work quite closely with like Netflix and BBC now and stuff. And yeah, I think if within that same year, I got asked if I wanted to like be involved with Triple C, and I can just imagine myself saying no, and thinking, oh, but I know somebody else that would be really good for it. So I'm like very, very, honored that I said yes, because even just with Triple C and everything, the modelling. Again, the modelling was similar. I say it was a yes year, and then it just sort of carried on. So that first
Just
year
say yes. Like,
yeah, just say yes. Just say yes. So I try to sort of believe in other people's faith in me, because I'm always questioning myself. So yeah, it sort of went from a full yes year to people must see something that I clearly just don't see. So give it a go. If I mess it up, I mess it up, and I've warned them. So you know,
I love that.
Yeah.
I honestly love that so much, and that's going to be the title of this episode, is Just Say Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
So much. And with that, I ask every guest as well, like, looking back, do you have a piece of advice that you would either give a younger version of yourself, or alternatively someone with the same disability as you who's younger?
Yeah. I think definitely my younger self is believe in yourself more, even if people don't believe in you.
Yeah.
Because as I got older, I felt like people didn't believe in me as much for what I wanted to do. And yeah, but I would say for anybody else, especially with my disability, because like you break and you feel sick so much, and this that and the other. I remember actually being told as an adult after university and everything through I won't say specifically who and stuff, but the people that are supposed to help you get work turn around and say you'll be too sick, nobody will hire you. So I always, from then, I for a good year or two, I just literally didn't do anything, because that really just crushed me. Like, I've done all this hard work, I've tried to catch up and do all this, and I've done uni and stuff, and then you're saying I can't get a job.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, to anybody actually with a disability, definitely believe in yourself. Don't wait for somebody to believe in you.
Yeah.
That number one, because sadly, in some cases, people just won't, no matter what, until you've done it. And don't listen to what they say, to be honest. Because when I just switched my ears back off, because when I was a kid, I didn't listen to anybody when they were like, don't do that, don't do this, you can't do that. Like, I didn't. I did it all. I broke all the time, but a break's gonna happen. So and then like teenage years, I started listening more, because you think everybody knows better, at certain points and stuff. And then back to an adult, I'm like, nah, forget it, I'll do what I want.
And I think it's so crucial what you said, is that sometimes the people who are meant to help you and who are like in power, inverted commas, and when they do say something like that, it can be so crushing, but also like almost realize within yourself that you are, like, this is going to sound so cringe, but you are the captain of your own ship, and like, you know your ship the best, regardless of what someone is saying to you about it. Like, if you know you can weather the storm, then go ahead and do it. God, that was full of metaphor. Oh my God.
I love it.
It was so poetic. Honestly,
it was
I'm wasted.
It really was. That was great. Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
I love that. So for me, I find that I have like a particular set of questions that I find annoying when people ask me about my disability. And so for me, it's either, did a shark bite your arm off, or what happened? And now I always ask this, do you have a particular set of questions that annoy you when someone asks you, or you find particularly intrusive about your disability?
It's an odd one, actually, because a lot of people, when they, weirdly enough, I mean, I'm getting older now, so in the face, I'm not looking that young anymore. Especially, I'll tell you what, in the winter, people constantly think I'm a kid, because, got a hat on, got my glasses on, got a coat on.
Yeah.
And I'm 3'5".
On a good day.
Yeah, on a good day. In winter, I'm probably like 3'3". But so people constantly like talk to me and think I'm a kid until I like decant my coat.
Yeah.
But no, and then from then it's usually, so it really annoying when I get the what's wrong, and I'm like, that's real vague. I mean, what do you mean? What's wrong in the day? What's wrong with the world? What are you talking about? And they're like, no, what's wrong with you? And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me, but I have a disability. And then I say what my disability is. But just to annoy them, I'll say like just a technical term and that's it. And I'm like, And I'm like, it means that I break my bones quite a lot and I'm quite small and use a wheelchair. But not everybody like me is the same as me. And they're like, oh. But yeah, so that's the basic of inclusivity. But I will say it's not normally the question that annoys me the most. It's the comments that I get daily.
Yeah.
Like, slow down. Hey, Speedy, can I get a lift? All those kind of stupid comments that people think they're being really funny. And apparently I've never heard these before because they're so unique. Like constantly. You know what I mean? Like
I've literally just had like at least like 5 or 6 comments like come to my head where I'm like, yeah, everybody who said that to me thought they were being so witty and so clever, but they just weren't.
I'm like, oh, and then it'll be just like if you catch me on a bad day, just don't like, because yeah, when I'm terrible, I will the P's and Q's start coming out. You know what I mean? But like, which doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often. But like most of the time, I'm just like, yeah, so funny. Yeah, jump on. Why don't you? Don't jump on. Really, I was joking, kind of thing. Because people like really will, you know, and they're like, oh, how fast does it go? I'm like, oh my god, let me get the speed monitor out. Like, mate, come on now, you know. And it's just like so annoying and so frustrating. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, but so to the point where I wear headphones like more or less everywhere I go now because it happens all the time, like all the time. So there'd be times when my own family's been out shouting me, and I've not seen them, not heard them. I've gone home, and they're like, "Why did you ignore me?" I was like, "I got my headphones. You know, I wear headphones everywhere now."
Yeah, like this is not intentional. Like,
yeah,
I just didn't hear you, didn't see you.
Exactly.
Like maybe low-key didn't want to interact with you, but like I'm blaming the earphones.
Turn the other way. Yeah. Nothing was actually playing. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it's just like, and it'd be like, especially like friends and stuff like that. They're like, I was shouting you for ages. I was like, I genuinely didn't hear you. But yeah, it just gets to the point where I'm like blocking people out. But also it depends where I am.
Yeah.
I find as well, city centre, there's especially people that are very religious. Mate, I've never in my life so much tried to dodge people. I don't know about you, but it's like a game for me. I'm like, spot them, dodge. I would rather go all the way around the town centre just to get around the back of them than go through them, because I genuinely don't think I need any kind of hands on my head or any special prayers anymore, because they have clearly not worked. So again, you're not unique, mate. But thank you for your time, and have a good day.
It's interesting that you say this, because I've had at least like in the past week, and that's not that long, right? In the past week, I've had 2 to 3 other people who have all said that like their most annoying thing that happens to them, it's not a question, it's people with religion. And like I had one like lady on, and she was like, yeah, people have asked to pray over my legs before. And I had a double amputee from America. He loveliest guy ever, Roderick. He's so nice. And he was like, yeah, people come up to me, and like, he was like, I've got to the point now where like they obviously need to get something out of it more than I do. But they like, I'm constantly asked, like, I'll pray for you. Like, I'll pray over your legs. Like, I'll like, you know, Jesus will bring them back, or whoever you believe in will bring them back on. And it's so mind boggling, but also like quite jarring that particularly religion, people think that guising that like pity in religion makes it okay.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Jesus basically just said, don't be a dick. That's basically what the whole of like every single religion in the world, that's basically, when you break it down to its fundamental basics, that's basically what they all say. Like fundamentally, like whoever you believe in, that's essentially what they said. Talk to me how you can justify saying shit like that falls under being like religious when you're meant to be like all good and helping each other out. Like, you're being a dick.
Yeah, literally. And I mean like the extremely dramatic those that will literally, and sometimes I don't know if it is because I'm small and they genuinely think I'm a child at first, wandering about the city centre on my own. But like they literally like hand on my head, like touching me, leaning down, the whole prayer position and everything. And I'm like, oh mate, you're drawing attention. And I really did not want this today. Like, please. So thank you very much. And today, it's not the day, my friend. But like, I mean, there's obviously religious people as well that will just very gently, you know, say, you know, God bless you and stuff. And that is absolutely fine. Thank you. You know, but I mean the full on theatrics in the middle of the city centre, like full on about to do a sermon just for me. I was like, no, thank you very much and goodbye. You know?
And that's the thing, like, I have absolutely no problem with religion whatsoever, but it's the dramaticness of it, and like guising pity or like guising some form of like self-deprecation in order to make yourself feel like you're being a better person, and guising it under religion. That's when it's not okay.
No, definitely.
And
but that's one of my many pet peeves.
It's a many pet peeve for a lot of people, and like I find it fascinating. I do, because I think about like, just don't be a dick. And if you think what you're saying might come off as you being a bit of a knob, you probably are.
You probably are. Yeah, if you're thinking, maybe it's a definite yes.
Yeah, and if you're also doing it to benefit yourself, that's also a problem. Like, because it's never going to benefit me in the long run. Like, never in a million years.
No, never. Also, apparently, I've never got anything better to do, or I'm not in a rush ever. Constantly just getting stopped. Like, I'm like, no, I was about to go and do. Yeah, apparently, you know, especially being in a wheelchair, I guess I've never got anywhere to go or anything to do, so I've got plenty of time to sit there and feel
accept all your blessings.
Yeah. I'm like, oh God. I'm now late for a meeting, but you know, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. But yeah,
I have one final question for you, Monique, and that is, can you say that you're disabled and proud?
Disabled and proud, yes, definitely. I mean, I could never imagine not being disabled, as odd as that may sound to some people.
Yeah.
But no, I am disabled and proud.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on today. I've absolutely loved this conversation. It's been really wonderful, and like everything you've said is really like, I've loved it, especially going back to like say yes to everything and believing in yourself. I've really loved that, because I think a lot of people need to hear that. So thank you so much for coming on. I've loved this.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. See you soon.